Hey guys, today we're going to show you a little bit of the Natchez Trace Parkway and the Witch Dance Campground and teach you some about land pirates. Come along with us. Let's go explore. We're headed up the Natchez Trace Parkway to mile marker 233.2 to Witch Dance Campground. It's a bicycle only campground and would be a perfect place to stop for the night if you're bicycling the Natchez Trace. The fall color is just beginning to show itself here on the trace in mid-November in the great state of Mississippi. For those that don't know, the Natchez Trace is an old historic forest trail or an old Indian trail that extends approximately 440 miles from Nashville, Tennessee to Natchez, Mississippi. This provides a link for the Cumberland, the Tennessee, and the Mississippi rivers. Back during the 17 and early 1800s, the trace was a land highway, if you will, and people used it to move their goods to river ports such as Natchez and New Orleans. So this made the Natchez Trace a great place for you to meet a land pirate and many other interesting people. Witch Dance has historically been a great place to stop for weary travelers, be they witches, land pirates, or normal folk. We're standing in the campground parking lot basically and looking back down the trace so you can see it's right here on top of it. Witch Dance, the very name conjures visions of eerie midnights and swirling black capes and brooms stacked against a nearby tree. The old folks say the witches once gathered here to dance, and where their feet touched the ground, the grass withered and died, never to grow again. Impossible? Maybe so. But look around for a hidden spot where no grass grows. That was quoting the sign that you saw right here in the campground. Two of the most infamous land pirates were probably Mississippi's first serial killers, Joshua and Wiley Harp, better known as Big Harp and Little Harp. They were born sometime in the 1740s or 50s. They were notorious river pirates, highwaymen, murderers, and yes, land pirates that operated in Mississippi, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Somewhere around 1797, they were living near Knoxville, Tennessee. They had been caught stealing hogs and horses, but they were also implicated in a local murder where the man had been found with his body cut open and his insides filled with rocks and sand and sunk in the local creek. That was a favorite method of disposal for Big Harp. They fled north from Knoxville and traveled along the Wilderness Road through the Cumberland Gap. They were captured somewhere near Danville, Kentucky. Unfortunately, the young son of the man who had helped the local law capture the Harps was found mutilated and dead. About this time, the governor of Ohio put a bounty on their head, and this, of course, pushed them south down into Mississippi. On their way south, they decided to hold up with the Mason gang at a place called Cave in the Rock that overlooked the Ohio River. They would lay around the cave, sitting and watching for slow-moving flatboats so they could steal the goods. The Harps were traveling with their wives and children. The Mason gang finally ran them all off when the Harps started taking captives from the flatboats and forcing them up to the top of the cliff and making them strip naked and run and jump off to their death. Around this time, the Harps moved down into Mississippi. The trace running straight through a wilderness area and being the only land road where so many people brought all their goods to market provided a haven for folks like the Harps. If you happen to be an unlucky traveler and meet up with Big Harp and he happened to be walking and you were riding a horse, why, he would just shoot you and take your horse. If you want to learn more about land pirates, there's a great book called The Outlaw Years, written by Robert Coates. It tells you all about land pirates that operated on the Natchez Trace. Back to Witch Dance for a bit. A guy told me that because of all the attention the scorched earth patches were getting here at Witch Dance, remember the places where the witches' feet touched the ground? Well, the Park Service decided to build the restroom you see right on top of them. And yes, sometimes funny things happen in those restrooms. Funny and strange things. The Harps are connected to Witch Dance because one of their many travels down the trace, they stopped in the nearby campground, Witch Dance, to rest for the night. Some of the other people there related the story to them about the witches dancing, and they showed Big Harp the scorched earth patches. It is said that he mocked the witches and danced around from patch to patch and said something like, "I don't see nothing happening to me." Well, less than a year later, after having been shot in the leg and the back by a posse chasing him, Big Harp lay on the ground confessing to more than 20 murders, saying the only one he regretted was that of his infant son who just wouldn't stop crying. So he bashed his head on a tree. As Big Harp lay there dying, the father and husband of some of his victims slowly cut off Big Harp's head and nailed it to a tree. Was this the curse of Witch Dance? Little Harp escaped and ran away down the trace. But in January of 1804, while trying to collect the bounty on another criminal, he was recognized and arrested. He was quickly brought to trial in Natchez and hung. So if you find yourself traveling the trace and you stop in this little restroom to take a break and strange and funny things happen to you, will it be the harps haunting you or the curse of the witch dance? At any rate, I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about the harps and the Natchez Trace and the witch dance campground, and another great Mississippi story begging to be told before it's forgotten. Thank you.